If you force this irregular puzzle piece into a standard square slot, it fails. But slide it into a jagged mechanism, and it locks perfectly. The piece hasn't changed, only the environment. This is the difference between a flaw and a superpower. Context. Take Dinanath, a 20-year-old living in a small village. His father was the local barber, an honest, predictable trade. But Dinanath refused to pick up the scissors. Dinanath spent his days fixated on a trait his parents couldn't understand. He possessed superhuman hearing, picking up faint conversations happening miles away. To his parents, listening to distant whispers offered zero utility for cutting hair in a quiet village. Because this skill offered no value in a rural barbershop, his father labeled him a failure and exiled him. In the wrong environment, a superpower acts as a liability. Wandering the roads alone, Dinanath discovered he was not the only outcast suffering from a severe environmental mismatch. He met Kanu, a man with a seemingly infinite appetite. Kanu's father had kicked him out because his endless hunger bankrupted the family's food supply. Then there was Banu. He suffered from extreme physical hypersensitivity. To Banu, a tiny ant crawling across a leaf felt like an earthquake, making it physically impossible for him to sleep. Dinanath proposed they march directly to the royal palace and weaponize their extreme traits. Grouping 3 societal rejects together does not solve their problems. To survive, they needed to move to an environment where the stakes were high enough to require their specific extremes. The trio arrived at the royal court, where Dinanath made a bold demand. He offered their unique services to the crown in exchange for the princess's hand in marriage. The king, deeply insulted, offered a deadly counterproposal. The 3 peasants would have to prove their worth through a series of impossible tests. If they failed, they would be executed. The first test targeted Kanu. The king ordered a massive royal feast, aiming to publicly humiliate him by overwhelming him with food. Kanu sat down and ate. He systematically consumed every dish brought to him until he completely emptied the royal kitchen, leaving the court in shock. Kanu's hunger ruined his family, but in a royal court with unlimited resources, that same trait became a display of superhuman capacity. Next, the king tested Banu's hypersensitivity. The royal servants prepared a bed by stacking 7 thick plush mattresses on top of each other. Almost immediately after lying down, Banu tossed and turned, complaining of a sharp, agonizing pain poking him through the heavy bedding. This cross-section shows what the king found when he tore the bed apart. Trapped deep between the mattresses was a single, microscopic strand of hair. Finally, the king turned to Dinanath. He ordered him to use his hearing to scan the kingdom and intercept something of actual value. Dinanath tuned out the sea and focused on the palace grounds. He picked up a hushed conversation in the horse stables. The king's own minister and commander were finalizing a plot to assassinate the king in his chambers that very night. Sensory sensitivity is a misery for a commoner trying to sleep or work, but deployed for the crown, it functions as an elite, high-stakes early warning system. Knowing the attack was imminent, Dinanath moved from passive listening to active strategy. He insisted they set a trap in the king's own bedchamber. They arranged realistic dummies under the royal bedsheets. Then the trio and the king concealed themselves in the dark corners of the room. Under the dim moonlight, the treacherous minister and commander broke in, swinging their heavy swords down onto the lumps in the bed. Standing over the ruined dummies, the assassins celebrated their success. Their own confession provided the hidden king with all the proof he needed to arrest him. Traditional military strength and standard guards failed to protect the king. The crown survived because of the specialized intelligence gathered by 3 discarded peasants. The aftermath was swift. Dinanath married the princess, Kanu secured an infinite food supply, Banu earned a perfectly quiet room, and the king's life was secure. Dinanath, Kanu, and Banu never changed who they were. The flaw we see in others is often a mismatch between an ability and its surroundings. High-stakes environments, like a threatened kingdom, rely on steady, predictable workers to function, but they need these highly irregular, specialized traits to survive sudden, unpredictable dangers. There are very few truly useless people in the world. The exact characteristic that makes you a punchline in a small village might be the exact superpower required to save a kingdom.